Hello.
Hi.
I love how you named yourself for this. So we're already starting off on a great foot. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm excited. I'm having a lot of fun and enjoying the ability to do my own podcast and have amazing people like yourself join me and the community. So thank you for making the time and hanging out here with me. And as the podcast goes, it's very laid back. So we're already recording.
All
It's
right. We're
just,
in it.
having a conversation. And the point of it, of C.I.T.Y.S.G.A.W, is to actually get to know you as the person, like the behind the scenes stuff, because the bio and all the information that's going to be in the description. But, just like if we were hanging out at a coffee shop, like how would I get to know you more? So,
I
how are you
like
today?
that. Oh, I'm doing great. It's like we did the live stream earlier about Ecamm for Zoom, which was fun. And I love days when I have like multiple activities out on the internet. Because
Mhm.
as a content creator, we're so solo, we're so isolated. So it's like, sure, like I can get stuff done on my own. I do all the time. But the days when it's like, oh, I get to go see my friends over here, I get to go have a little chit chat over there, it really energizes the rest of the day. So I'm feeling great.
I have to agree with you. That's why I'm like so excited to be doing this right now. Like I just mentioned, having the ability to do this and, call this my job in one way or another is such an amazing blessing that it doesn't get lost on me. So, but with that being said, you were a bit busy today. You were hopping around. You were earlier on the Ecamm for Zoom, right?
Yep.
And that's a lot of fun. Daniel is an amazing creator. He's someone that if I haven't highlighted, I should. I'm just holding myself accountable, you understand, on this, and someone that we should have here as well, for C.I.T.Y.S.G.A.W. So, but getting to know more about you, right? Like, let's say nobody's ever met you. I was fortunate enough to have found your content during my TikTok scrolling days, where I remember you blew up big time. And I especially loved like your self person conversation where you're just basically like talking to yourself as two different people, one wearing glasses, the other one not. You understand? And a lot of it was based around Ecamm, which is how we basically connected, through the Ecamm fam and things like that. So for those people who might not know who you are, tell us a little bit about yourself.
It's so fun to do this because I usually change it depending on like the scenario I'm at whenever I meet new people, because sometimes, right, you want to tell people the real thing, like, and then sometimes you're like, I don't want to get too deep into it. So I'll say like, I'm an accountant. And, and then
Love it.
sometimes I say I'm a stripper. And then sometimes I will say that I am a content creator and I make content about making content. I teach people how to make videos. Like it's like a goal of mine is to get people feeling strong and having a good time making videos. I try not to go the business route because I know there's tons of people who talk about that. I don't need to also talk about that, but I don't feel like there's too many people just talking about how fun it is to make videos. Like, you're Mr. Camera Junkie. Like we just love this stuff. And I feel like there's other people who would also love this stuff, but maybe they've never seen someone who looks like them or they can relate to or they can connect with. So I make content around cameras and tech, but also video editing for beginners and then Ecamm stuff. We're just out here with this Ecamm fan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Well, you
also do a
definitely put me
podcast with
on.
Doc too.
Oh yeah, I was gonna get into that in a bit,
Yeah.
but that yeah, you put me on to CapCut. You understand, and what are the possibilities with that? I still haven't dove in too deeply because I always fall back to what like what you're comfortable in. Like right now, I'm editing a podcast, taking a bit of a break to record a podcast, but at the same time, like kind of being behind the gun and trying to get content out as soon as possible. I always tend to, instead of saying, let me spend some extra time learning something new, kind of fall back onto what you know.
Yeah, I was doing
But
exactly the same thing right before we got on this call. I was doing a review video and I'm trying to learn scenery. I'm working on learning scenery, but I'm very fast in Premiere. So
yep.
it kind of just depends on, do I want to get this done or do I want to tinker and learn? You just got to be in the right mindset. And so what I did is like, so from Ecamm, right, we can send our video straight to Scenery. I'll just send it there and then I'll start in Premiere. And then I'm just trying to see like, where can I get started quicker? And right now I'm almost finished with the video. It's still processing in Scenery, the AI edit in there. So it's like, could it be a great tool? Yes. And like, but like if somebody's just starting, like, am I going to put them on Premiere? Not exactly. You know, that's because I've been editing for a really long time. Mm-hmm. But like that thing, right? I can turn stuff around like in Premiere. It's just like, we're done. It's over. And then I can move on to the next thing. So I get it. If you like, the CapCut will find its place for you. It's not even my main editor. So like I teach a lot of stuff about CapCut, but it's really for the quick turnaround things that are mostly on my phone. There's CapCut for desktop, but I don't really even teach that yet, which I could learn a little bit, but that thing's always changing and they're starting to charge more for it. And I want to give an easy entry for people to video. So, you know, maybe that's going to change. Maybe it'll be a different one, but you know, basic editing, right? I like to teach like timeline, split, trim, those kind of things in whatever place you can do that. Cause a lot of people don't even know how to do that. And it's like, oh, we could just trim like that dead pause at the beginning of your video. We could just slice that off in your phone, in your camera app. Like those are the people I want to help.
Absolutely. And I have to say the same thing because like that's what I'm trying to do myself, which is kind of like take a step back. I'm a camera junkie, obviously, and that's one thing that I really enjoy is actually taking the time and, you know, like scrutinizing my own work, you understand? And I'll be the first one to tell you that I spend hours editing stuff that people aren't even going to notice, you know, because that's what I do. But there's that saying going around where done is better than perfect. And that's what I'm also trying to do as well. Like, for example, this podcast, I can make it super fancy, but I'm trying to keep it as basic as possible, which is just, like I said, a conversation, you know, so trying to tone it down a little bit to produce more, because one thing that I also realize is that my quality is definitely good enough. You understand that even if I were to take a step back, it still like outshines a lot of other content on the platform.
For sure. Like where we're at, that was an exact kind of mountain I had to climb. That my video at 15% is going to be better than what a lot of people are putting out already. So is it better if I do everything at 100% and it takes forever to do it, and then like only one video comes out every week, every month, every 6 months, not at a good cadence, not for like what we do. We need to be turning stuff out. But what you'll find is once you've simplified it, now I'm getting faster, like the quality and speed are starting to catch up to each other. So like I can get the graphics out quick, I can get the keyframes, the effects, the things, like whatever I want to get done, I can like make it happen way quicker than I could have before. But if I had always stayed in, it has to look like a movie every time, I don't know if I would be where I'm at now, because it's the reps. It's all about the reps.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to tell you, for me, Scenery is actually very similar to Final Cut, which is what I'm native to. But there's still a couple of like little speed bumps that whenever I get to them, I'm just like, I don't even have the time to look up how to figure it out. And I just end up reverting back to what I've accustomed.
Yeah, and I think it'll get there. I do think Scenery is a good option, and I think it'll get there because I know their team is really receptive to hearing what we want and what we need. Mm-hmm. So there is something in that, and I always like to learn something new. That like CapCut was new to me. I had been in Premiere forever, and when I started using CapCut, I was like, where's the things that I need to do? It's like too simple. Like I remember beating myself up because it was too simple, but then it became the beauty in it being too simple, and then I'm just laying in bed and I'm like, oh, I gotta make this video right now. And you know, you can't really do that in Premiere.
Mm-hmm. But it's really cool because just a couple of things on the surface that you showed me about like them already having kind of like the memeable clips in there, and then you just add your clip to kind of finalize it, makes things a hell of a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
But now
gives you some options.
But now let me ask you this. What kind of started you in your creative journey? Now, for those of you listening, right, that you can do a little research on Marielou Mandl and her background and her story, her journey to get here to us is an amazing story all on its own. But as like the youth, when you're already over here, and I guess my question to you is, what kind of started you as a creator in your youth?
In my youth was like, I was fascinated with television and movies, and I was always creative and wanting to tinker with things, but we had a little video camera. It was like my dad's camera. It was like one of the big camcorders. And I just was always really fascinated with it. I didn't get to play with that one too much, but I did end up getting my own camcorder sometime in high school. And then whenever we had a paper or a presentation, I was always like, teacher, can I make it a video? Like, and they're like, yeah, sure, because they were just excited that someone was doing something different. It didn't always work. Sometimes, like, the English paper needs to be an English paper, but sometimes it was like a presentation about something or another, like a history class, and they were like, yeah, okay. Because I was like, I came in so confident about it. But that's when I started making my own stuff. But being on camera, that all started when I was in middle school, and I was a volunteer in the library at the school. And it was like, you can do some kind of what's it, extracurricular, like you could go to shop, or you can go to home ec, you can go to art class or whatever. And I was like, I want to be in the library because I'm a nerd. And I was like, doing the Dewey Decimal System, like putting books back, just living my best life because I like love to read. And then next to it was where the AV people were, and they were filming morning announcements. And I'm like, what are you doing? Can I do it? Can I be part of this? And they were like, yeah, you want to be the host? And I was like, yes. Yes, I do. Because like they're just like AV kids. Not everybody wants to be on camera. And, like I pop my head and I'm like, whoa, I want to play with everything. Because I've always been like, I like being on camera, but I also like to do everything. I want to touch everything. I want to know how the sound works. I want to know how the camera works. I want to know the lighting. So it's very much like not just on camera. It's the all of it. That's where it's like what I do now is like, it's everything me, because I just like thrive in the multitask of it all. So I started doing the morning announcements, and then they were like, oh, you can also do the afternoon announcements. And I took it very seriously. I was like, good afternoon, Everett Middle School. And, just really, really was into it and took it seriously. But that was my start of basically doing what we do now.
Mm-hmm. That's so cool because I was not in the library, but I was in the AV side where I started morning announcements since elementary school. So that's something that I've always been a part of. And I was always, like in the libraries or doing the specific location, because the library was where we did the announcements for elementary.
Yeah, it was where the party was at. Like those of y'all who made fun of the library kids, this is where the party was at.
Right. And, not, I got to give you props because there's a couple of things that I did in my years at school, right? To try to like finagle the system for a better outcome. But not once did I ever think about turning in a paper or anything like that in video form, which, it's like, to me, that's just mind blowing. Like I did a couple of things. To give you an example, I was able to get into like the honors, like dance class, and get a passing grade so that I can hang out and break dance with my friends for an hour every day. You understand? Like I was able to game the system a bit like that. But that video essay thing, man, knowing how much that I loved the AV side and I never thought of that is just kind of like, I gotta hold myself accountable to that one. I'm like, you know what? That's a dope idea. So I absolutely love that.
Right. And I still carry that to this day in the like, well, everybody's doing it this way, but I don't necessarily have to do it this way because who made the rules?
Exactly.
Like, that all the time. And I think that like, I'm so grateful that was instilled in me through whatever various things. Cause like childhood was not like growing up in one place. Like I was a military kid. I was also moved around a lot because of natural disasters. In middle school, I went to 6 different middle schools. So I can like, that's why I can sit in any room and talk to people, because I was a new kid was my identity. And these kind of things of like, well, this is what everybody else is doing. Cause my life didn't look like any TV show. And I was like, well, if everybody has this like nuclear family, and I know now as an adult that that's not true, but in my head as a child, where I'm like, but my life, nope, everybody else is like, that's wild. And I was like, I think my life is wild, you know? So like, I think I live on a different plane of reality, in the sense that like, well, we could just do it differently. We could just do it differently. And then I would try to do it and then see what happens.
Oh man, that's so cool. I absolutely love it.
And I still have my camera, my original camera, my camcorder. It was in the closet, and I found it when I got this shelf. I was like, oh, I got to put it up there. So when we talk about our camera junkie life, my OG camcorder is back there.
I got all my cameras set up there and stuff like that. All my old school
Oh,
stuff.
because it means so much, right? Like they're moments in time.
Mhm. So now here's a question that I ask certain people, but do you remember what was your first camera?
My first camera would have been this one that's up there, which is it's a JVC something or another. Let me go grab it. Hold on. I can show you. Hold on. Get back in here. So the first one from when I was in high school was this JVC megapixel
Nice.
with the pop down and the screen, right? This.
That's
And
nice.
I just was like, just a menace. And I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Who is this? What? Tell me where you're at. Cause I was like, I also thought I was going to be a host on the news. So I was like, yeah, I'm reporting on stuff, until I realized I don't want to be talking about all the drama on the news.
Mm-hmm.
But then the internet came out and I was like, oh, we could talk about anything.
Yep.
It's again, that thing. It doesn't have to be the path that everybody thinks it is. So this one, it's a mini DV thing. And it's, how do I get into there? Oh yeah, right here. This is like the mini DV tapes that I
Wow.
have in there. Yeah. How do I
That's
get,
a nice piece of
it's because it's
kit,
not powered
especially
on.
for its day.
Yeah. It's like, when would have this been? Maybe 2000.
Mm-hmm. That would have said early 2000s.
Yeah. So I was like really fortunate that my parents were enough to understand like, oh, this is, something that you want. Because it's not like I asked for a lot of things, right? I didn't go out. I didn't do, I was a pretty good kid. I had my straight A's and things like that. And, this was something that I really wanted and I got a lot of use out of. And I remember filming those essays, those projects, and I didn't have an editing software. So I would do a take and then I would watch it and see like, was it good or not?
Stop
And
it.
then I have to rewind it, record over it again, and then like do it piece by piece like that. We had to do it in order, you guys.
Mm-hmm.
We had to do it in order.
You're taking me right back because when it came to cameras, I started with photography. Like it was a less expensive thing, right? I guess through the family. And that's what I have access to. But it was when I was in school that I actually started getting access to video cameras, and being part of the club, right? I was able to sometimes like check out a camera like you would check out a book for the weekend and take it home with me so that I can have like and it was like a full-size JVC camera that I would put on my shoulder. And we didn't have editing software, so we had to rewind to that point and then start recording there so that we can get the next take. And I remember that it was something so simple, but I decided to do exactly that. But I put the camera on a tripod, faced it to the kitchen, and every time that I like started re-recording, I was in a different location, right? Like, so I would just constantly be like moving throughout the kitchen, and the kitchen itself was the static shot. And for whatever reason, you know, like the technology not being as sharp as it is today, every time that I would make a cut, it would kind of give like a light glow, right, between each one.
Yeah.
So every time that I showed up in a different location, it almost looked like there was an effect, right? Like I'm lighting up and showing
Yeah.
up in a different location. And that was just something that came out sporadically by having to use the technology at its best in those days. So I remember that like it was yesterday.
Yeah, the discovery, right, of that kind of stuff was, it's still such a joy. And even with the cameras that I use today, like I'll like push buttons and I was like, oh, it does this? That's fun. You know, that's, you could mess with this stuff because you could always factory reset.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to mess it up. You can always factory reset. I do that all the time. Now, the first camera that I got as an adult when I was starting to want to do stuff online was this G7X.
Nice.
I feel like it was the
That was
camera
the camera of its
of
day.
of its moment.
Yes.
Yeah. And so it's the G7X1. She came with me everywhere around the planet. And when I was filming, I remember I was traveling a lot for work, and we were stopped somewhere in the middle of nowhere at a hotel with my like teammate, and we were watching fireworks in the parking lot of whatever small town we were in. And I was filming this, and the wind knocked it down. So it messed up the lens, but like G7X2 or 3 or whatever, like all these other ones had already come out, but I like loved this one so much that I paid more to repair this, and I could have just bought another one because I'm just so sentimental. Like this is one that I like, these two I'll never get rid of. My other ones, like their work cameras, like they kind of rotate. You know, you learn with your gear sometimes that it's like it's just assets that kind of come in and out. But these two they're just very sentimental. They're like integral parts of the journey.
I love it because I'm like that the same. Like I'm very sentimental with things. There's certain things that you can just replace and buy, but there's certain things that is like, even if they're not working, it's just the value that they hold to me. Like, no, there's no money, like there's not enough money that somebody will actually buy this thing that will make it worth me getting rid of it. So I 100%
No.
feel you.
That's why we get along.
But I absolutely like, I'm having so much fun. Just had to let you know because this is a trip. I actually have this is the one that brought me back, because this is also the thing. It brought me back into cameras, right? I had kind of left once I left school and didn't have access to it the same way. But this little Minolta that I have in my hand here, right? This little like flip out screen was the first digital camera that really started getting me back into it. And like I said, rekindling my passion to photography and videography, because the biggest thing that I think, the biggest hook for me was the ease of creating today, right? Like when I came back into the creative world, so to speak, and edited my first video on Premiere, right? And I saw that I cut too much data, right? And my mind quickly went back to like, oh my God, like I'm dealing with like two
It's
heads.
gone.
You understand? Like that, like I have to like start the clip from the beginning. But no, all I had to do was just like click the end and drag it out because it was all digital. And that alone, that was like the mind blowing moment. I was like, this is so much easier than it was when I used to edit.
Gosh, like, and you imagine how much we appreciate that because of our earlier experience, right? Like I always like chuckle at myself because I find myself doing it more and more of the back in my day.
Exactly.
Right. Like it's just, we're just getting to that age, I guess, right? Where it is like we have seen some things, and the access that people have now in a device that they already have. It's not even like they had to go out of their way to buy a creating device. That like my mom, you know, she's very creative, but she feels like she's not, because she did not grow up with access to cameras and access to creative arts and things like that. But like, she's got her iPhone now and she's taking pictures of everything. And I was like, that's amazing. And she's like, no, whatever. It's just like, whatever. And I was like, no, like, you're doing it. You're doing it. It doesn't matter. You start at any age, you start, where do you have access? You know, and fortunately now more people can have access earlier in their lives.
Yeah, I had actually asked this question to somebody else that I'd interviewed, Josh Satin, and I had asked him, like, when did you like start your creative side, you know, like as kind of as a child? And he felt like that he wasn't an artist, right? So because he wasn't making art, that he wasn't creative. And I was like, I have to disagree. Like, because just everything that he told me in that conversation led me to understand, I'm like, you've been creating your entire life. You just weren't making art. You understand? And that's where people, I think, kind of lose that information on what it is to be creative and what it is to be an artist.
Yes. And so much like of being creative. And like, I love this conversation always, because when people tell me they're not creative, I was like, you're lying to yourself. Like, you may truly believe that, but everyone is creative. Because if you've ever had to make a decision that's outside of the obvious one for anything, you're creative. And everybody has had to do that at some point. Turn left or right. You always turn right, but maybe today you turn left. That's a creative choice. You had to think outside of the box to do something a little bit different. So it's all in you.
Yep. And the people who are constantly like amazing problem solvers, and they'll be the ones who are saying like, I'm not creative. I'm like, a problem solver is an amazing creative person. Like, you have to be of that mindset to actually get the results.
Yeah. And that's why I love production. A question that came up in the Ecamm for Zoom stream earlier today was like, has anybody ever done a live stream or a production where it went completely perfectly smoothly? And it's like, no, but the thing is, I wouldn't want it to, because that's part of the game. That's part of the fun. Like, it's stressful, but I'm like, but it's my stress. And I'm like, and I'm going to figure this out and I'm going to feel so good afterwards. And even when you don't figure it out, you're like, ooh, I did my best. Next time I'm going to get it, because that problem won't hit me again. I'll tell you that.
Exactly. And that's what it is about being a creative problem solver. Like, if you've worked and done any type of like school play or drama, right? You know that there's the set design that you have to deal with and how many creative things that you come up with. Like, instead of building boulders, you create big, gigantic, hollow paper mache, you know, like structures that then you end up painting brown and gray to look like boulders. And, you know, constantly thinking outside the box like that, like arts and crafts, right? It's literally in the name. It's part of it. And that's what I always enjoyed doing, that both in school and also like at my church that I grew up with, or grew up in,
and that's
better said.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. And you could start creativity at any point. So even if you haven't claimed it yet in your life, I hope everyone claims it, you know, because making a dinner out of the 3 things you have in your fridge, that's creative.
That was one of my favorite shows. Chopped.
Yeah.
Was it Chopped, right? Chopped, where they used to give you a basket of like 3 random things and you were like, make dinner, like, right?
Go.
That's like the bachelor's life every Tuesday. Like, what do we got in the fridge? Like, what are we going to do?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
That's also one of my mottos, which is upgrade your skills, right? And I say that in the sense of like, everything that we learn, it becomes like a tool in our arsenal. And I constantly bringing things from different aspects, like different realms of my life, and applying them to the creative side, because that's what makes me who I am, like the total package. Are you still using the same old black boring mic cover? It's time for an upgrade. Introducing Doc Pops, the microphone covers that don't just improve your sound, they make a statement. Designed for podcasters, streamers, musicians, and content creators, Doc Pops reduces plosives, cuts down on background noises, and protects your microphone from dust and moisture, all while looking amazing on camera. With a variety of colors to match your style, your microphone will finally stand out as much as your content. Perfect for top mics like the Shure SM7B, MV7, Rode Pod mic, and many more. So make your mic pop with Doc Pops. Better sound, better look, bigger impact. Doc Pops, where sound meets style. Is that velvet?
The experience of where things got off the rails and you learned, and then the experiences where you completely like succeeded and you're like, oh my god, I can't believe that worked. They all make you who you are. And like my style as a producer is very different than other people as well, right? Because we're all a result of the things we have faced. You know, I used to be an event producer, and we had a tour with very major kids brand, and it's like every mall we stopped at was like the whole city and all of their kids came to this little like mall kiosk event, right? Because they like wanted to see the characters. And there was one city where it's like every city we went to, we're like, okay, so this didn't work, or this crowd management wasn't right. Okay, so what can we do? What we can do? So we like kept trying to get a little bit better, upgrade our skills, right? But there was one city, it was like Chicago, so it was like a major city. We just couldn't. We were just like overrun with the people, and I went to my team like with a smile. I was like, well, we failed at this one because like we just did the best we could, right? We could, but like everybody laughed because we all understood we're not going to die. You know, we did the best we could.
Exactly.
And now we know the next time this thing goes to that city, maybe we approach it a little bit differently. Like you prepare a little bit differently. But the wins, the losses, all of them, I'm here for it.
Yeah, it's like my live streams. I do one every week, and I recognize that not every single one is going to be a grand slam, right? Like in baseball terms, there's going to be some bunts and some sacrifice flies. You know, like there's going to be some that has to be sacrificed. Like, hey, that one wasn't my best, but we'll get them on the next one, right? And that's exactly the mentality that I also like to show. You know, like I'm not the youngest out here. I'm not a teen or making content for that type of demographic at all. And yet, later in life was when I'm actually now taking advantage of my
Yeah,
full
and thank goodness
creativity.
that is accessible to us, like with online, with YouTube, with any of the social medias, that like we all can get on there. Like I moved to LA, it'll be 17 years ago this fall. And I moved here to be an actress and a host. And YouTube was like just starting, like it was out, but people weren't really like consciously making stuff on there yet. They're just like uploading fun videos. It's like as a way to share videos with people. And I just remember thinking, well, we could just make stuff on there. Like I had like a group of friends that were all filmmakers, and I was like, we could just, the thing we want to do, we could just do it and put it up on YouTube. And they're like, nobody's ever going to look at that. Nobody's ever going to want that. And then that like Netflix starts making movies. Like I remember seeing the signs for House of Cards, and I was like, I was right. Like I knew it was the route. And then like people getting discovered off of YouTube, and people getting their show deals off of YouTube. Now that's like not the route that I ultimately ended up wanting or going down as far as like making like a narrative thing, but this free distribution that has not always been accessible to everyone. Like we can make and release. So my thing is create, release, repeat. That release part used to be inaccessible. Like you could release it to like your friends, or you could like show your family, right? But not to the world. And now we could just make something, whether it has 0 views or 5 million views, you have the place to release it. Because once you release it, there's so many other factors. Like that's not the moral here. The moral is like you got to put it out in order to, what I always say is how you really feel about it. You don't know how you really feel about it until it's public and someone could find it. Right? And then when somebody can find it, then you're like,
You
oh, I
nailed it.
hated that. Or, you know what? Okay, all right. Next time I'll do something different, but I'm all right with that. Got to put it out.
I gotta tell you, like I've mentioned your story so many times in reference, right? Because that's exactly how I felt with YouTube. My show is on Saturday nights, which is prime time television, right? Like, so I'm competing against like the best that television has to offer. Yet I've been able to carve out my small little niche of my community because I had that same epiphany. Now, to give you a little backstory, I actually did some
Oh, I'm not
stand-up comedy,
surprised.
right?
I'm
Some
glad to hear
stand-up.
it though.
Okay, and that was one of my bucket list things to do, right? And I had a friend who was actually doing it at the improv at my job, and he's the one who put the fire, under my behind, so to speak, and was like, "Yo, you just need to go out and do it." So for me to get on stage, right, even though it was a bucket list item, for me to get on stage, I needed to invite 10 friends and get them over there to sign up for me so that I can get 5 minutes of stage time. And they decided when those 5 minutes were because I was a newbie, so they didn't know me. They're putting me towards the back of the list, right? And so many different parameters and hoops that I had to jump through just to get 5 minutes on stage so that I can release, right? How you just said, like, release the content that I've created. And I did all that, right? I had the friends come in and everything. And the epiphany that I had when I was like, I can do this on YouTube without bothering my friends. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can just go here and guess what? I'm not delegated to Wednesday night 5 minutes, like whenever they say. I have the ability to take an hour long set if I wanted to and do it at any day that I want. And that's when it like clicked for me. Now, I'm very glad that I didn't
When was
continue in the
this?
comedy, right? Because even though I love it, I found my place here, which is 10 times better for me, right? But it was still that epiphany of like, you can just do it, right? Like, you have the platform now. And that was just mind blowing to me to think like, yeah, this is like what we all wanted public service channels to be, right? And now we have it on a
Yes. And
global scale.
when you did the stand up, when was that? Like, how long ago was that?
That was already maybe like
Yeah. And
15
like,
years ago.
how much has changed in the past 15 years? Because it's like, even that was like early YouTube, where I don't like, think there was probably YouTubers or influencers yet. Like 15 years ago, it's like still
It
like
was
cat
just starting
videos.
out because
Mhm.
And it was just that. It was the understanding of like you said, you have the ability to, like, for me, it would have been comedy at that time. But like I said, when it came around and I had the epiphany, I wasn't in the comedy
Yeah.
scene anymore. And that's why I said I'm kind of glad, because I could have easily fallen down that rabbit hole and Lord
Right.
knows where I would have been, with stand up. But like, it was that understanding and that, like I said, that epiphany that said, you know what, let me figure this out. And then I realized that with YouTube in particular, you can't just kind of do whatever. You can't just take it as a job. You have to do something that you're really passionate about, because if not, then you'll kind of easily quit your
Yeah,
own
it's so
thing,
easy
so
to
to
do
speak.
that. And I in my beginnings of my YouTube channel, like for the long, I just wanted to do it and do it regularly, but there was all of these emotional barriers. Now, like, we've got the freedom to distribute, but then we got to deal with our own stuff, and those are layers that you have to go through. My channel, and it's the same channel, I've just kept the same one forever, because I was like, this is my journey, like, and I don't mind people seeing, like, going back to the beginning and seeing what they were. I did makeup videos. I did travel videos. I don't know what to do with my life videos. It's like, it's gone through all of these iterations, and then where it took off for me, those things had to happen in order for it to be what it is now. Because I was making these videos because I just love
Mm-hmm.
to make videos. Like, if the internet went away, if all the platforms went away, I'm still making videos. Like, that is me. I'm going to do that. And making those videos, the people who are around me knew, oh, Marielou makes videos. I have a question on how to do this or that on Instagram or on YouTube or whatever. And if I got to ask the question 3 times, I was like, I'm just going to make a video because I can't explain this again. So I started to do that, and then putting them on YouTube, and then people would start to find them. So they were on there. Like, I just started to build this library that not a lot of people saw. until everyone on the world now wanted to get online for whatever reason, like it took off.
Yeah,
Whatever
for whatever
reason,
reason.
they wanted to get online all at once. And then my channel spiked because I had built this library already. And that changed my life because I was like
That's so cool.
doing it already. Like, I wasn't like I started my YouTube channel for it to be my everything. It became my everything because it was something I was already doing because I loved. Like, I just was like, my YouTube was a place where it's like, I make something, I can put it up there. People see it, they don't see it. And I still feel that kind of way, but now it's developed into a community of other people who love to make videos. And then that's what we talk about. So if you find me on other places on the internet, like, you might see videos of my cats, you might see product stuff, you might see lifestyle stuff, you might see all these other things. But that's because I love to make the videos. And on the YouTube channel, I talk about making the videos. Like, my caption used to be like, I make videos and I talk about it on camera, which is what it is.
Me, I love making videos, right? But I didn't know how I could make it my job, so to speak, right? And what I was doing at that time was actually doing phone repairs. So I had a business where I was doing iPhone and Samsung repairs and everything like this. And even doing that, I was using some social medias that were just starting up to create videos about what I was doing, about the phone repairs. And that started creating some buzz. And this was around the time of the iPhone 7, 7 Plus, and the 8 that they all came out of the series, which was when Apple switched to actually like high definition video, or actually it was 4K. Finally, like getting 4K on these phone devices. And I remember watching a video about the 4K on the iPhone on YouTube and seeing this guy, Everything Apple Pro was his name, or his channel name. I don't think he's creating content anymore, but like, he had an entire like business making these videos. And that's when, like, I guess the curiosity seeped in, right? And I was like, how is he able to do that? Because I'm over here at work, right? I'm grinding away, but I'm watching a video. I'm like, how is he monetizing this? Like, how is he able to make these videos and take all the time that it requires to make this video? And that was like I guess the what do they
Like
call
the
it? The
epiphany, the spark.
splinter
Yeah.
in my mind. No, the
Yeah.
splinter, kind of like that. Like, I couldn't scratch that itch, and I couldn't put the pieces together. So, I guess for you, that would be my question. What was something that kind of sparked the curiosity for you as far as creating content on social media and online platforms? Because
Like, when Instagram first came out, I just remember jumping on it. I was working as like in events, but like as a brand ambassador. So like, you see the tents that, out wherever, and they're like, here's a free sample of this thing. Like, I was doing that kind of stuff. And I remember somebody saying like, oh, have you guys seen this like Hipstagram? Oh, like Hipstagram, like hipster. It's like a hipster app, because we already had apps at that point. And then I was like, it was Instagram. So then like I looked into it, and it's like the icon was like a little brown camera. It was like totally different than what it is now. And I remember,
exactly, like the
yeah,
other
and it
camera.
was just pictures. And I just remember being like, oh, we can just put pictures up? Okay, cool. Like, because I didn't like Facebook. Like, for a long time, I just haven't liked Facebook. And I just didn't vibe with how it ran. But this was just a feed of photos, which is the reason I was going on Facebook, is because I want to see my friends' photos. Right. So, but this is like not a lot of caption. I feel like it was all very short, if there was even captions yet. I don't know, but it was mostly just pictures. And I was like, this is amazing. And then I started to jokingly, but like wanting inside my heart for it to be true, telling people this was my art. Because I was like taking like, learning about the negative space and rule of thirds and framing and editing with the filters on Instagram at that point. So that was really, again, like one of those, like it landed in front of me and I saw it and I was like, ooh, I want to push the buttons. This is an outlet for me. Great. Let me play with that. So that's what got me started. That's what sparked me for just creating on the internet. And then as far as like starting to make it a business, that was just, again, that thing of seeing other people making it a business. And I was like working, just grinding so hard at all these different jobs. And I was like, how can I get to there where that's the job, that's the thing that is my income, right? So I can make more videos. All of it was like, how can I get to making more videos? And I eventually, with the event company, started to produce videos for them. So I might be managing a tour, but while we're out there, I got my little camera, I put little clips together, and I was like, oh, here's the recap of the event, here's a little video, here's some photos, you guys can use it however. And then eventually that I started to book more jobs doing that, which was cool. And then it was like, okay, but now I like making these videos. Then people started to want to hire me to make their videos. And I would do it, but I would feel some kind of way. Because I was like, I'm putting in all this work to put them on camera. And I'm like, why can't they just do this? Because like I could do all of it. And then I'm like, why aren't you doing all like for yourself? Why aren't you doing this for yourself? So when I had like a whole salary job, and I would take my paid time off, and it was like be like a week at a time. And I was like, okay, for this week, I'm gonna act like I'm a YouTuber and like play out my week as if like I'm not just gonna sit around and play video games and like watch shows. We're going to play this out. If this were my job, what would a week look like, to kind of see with it? And it is a lot of work if you're going to go fully into it.
Yeah.
So I had done that a couple of times, and I had tried that, but it like still like, you need some time, you need some momentum in order to transition that into a full-time thing. And unfortunately, for some reason, I had a lot of free time again. So that's when I was able to actually like give it a run, because people were asking me more questions. And I was like, great, I have more reason to make videos. And then it just started to scale up from there. And then companies who had like products that they wanted to teach people how to use, like creator stuff, then they would hire me to make tutorials and make videos for them. And then like connecting with Ecamm fam, like seriously pivoted my whole life. Like I know, like I think it's like so many of us can really like pinpoint Ecamm as a turning point for things. And it's a video production software, sure, but it's finding a group of people who get you and what you're doing. And I don't think like I don't know Premiere fam. There's no Premiere. I don't know the Adobe fam. Like even like CapCut. Like I'm in a CapCut Discord. Like I don't talk to none of those people, because it's just a different thing.
Yeah.
It's a different thing. But once you like found the people who are like, well, we're all online, we all like making this kind of stuff, we're all supporting each other doing these things, and then making content that attracted more people who were into this vibe. And it was just wonderful. And it was different than what I had seen before. When we're like really, really, really in the grind, you can't really see clearly. So, as much as the shutdown of everything was really hard and really terrible, for me, it was I'm really grateful for that moment to be able to like catch my breath and make the correct next steps to where now I have my own business. I recently got S Corp for Mandl Media. So like, it's like legit. She's a business. But now there's also, I got to get to the business of business. That's a whole other game now.
Yeah, because that's what everybody forgets. Like, if you do want to make this a business, it then becomes a business and you have to run it that way.
And that's a whole other game.
But Marielou, oh, absolutely. But we could talk and I could have you here for like a very long time. But there's just certain questions that I like to ask, try to keep it all congruent. So going back to your childhood, right? What was your, I would say, favorite childhood toy or creative device that you probably spent way too much time playing with?
Do I have a creative toy? I feel like I had one of these like sketch pads where you could pull it up and then it's like film, and you press it and it would like make the image, but then you hold it up and it would erase it. So it was like a reusable, like kind of sketch pad, and just like kind of drawing whatever is basically now the iPad, but it was very low tech, but it was a creative thing. And I was just like drawing things and like had ideas of like brainstorming. Like, why is a 5-year-old brainstorming? Because she's a nerd.
Because she's
Yes.
Marielou.
And then it's like once I got a little bit more high tech, there was a device that I had in middle school that was a Casio secret sender. So it was like basically a little keypad, like you open it up, there's a keypad, you can make little messages, you can make notes for yourself, but if somebody else had it also, you could message to each other. So I got like my best friend to get one. And also for some reason, it could control TVs. So I would like mess with the TVs
cool.
in class. I would like turn them on at random. Like, why? Why? Like, because I didn't understand like why this thing had this ability, because it was like probably the same technology, right? And you just go through and they're like, what kind of TV is it? Toshiba, Sony, whatever. And I was like, doot, 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 and just turn it on, turn it off. I didn't do it a lot, okay? I wasn't like a big troublemaker. I was like a very shy troublemaker. So I was just like, just to put like to see what happens.
But that's you just took me back to the world of two-way pagers. I was just like, oh my God. Like, I forget how much technology that I've been able to see and live through in my life. Like, I am able to go back and remember like using a rotary phone, which is crazy. And to see where technology is today, where it's going to be in the next 10 years, is just like mind boggling to me. But that leads me to my next question. What piece of tech or gear has your most attention right now?
Right now, it's this microphone. I think about this. This is the Shure MV7 Plus. That's this girl. And it's plugged in USB to the computer. I have the Rodecaster Pro 2. I have like all these other microphones. I had the MV7, the first generation, and I liked it. But the upgrades that happened with this one, like it just lives in my mind, like rent free. I'm just thinking about how like, man, this microphone just did it. Because in my house, first there's something. It's like an old building, and there's something in the electric currents in the walls or ghosts. I'm not sure. We never got down to the bottom of it. But with a lot of my microphones, there's like a buzz that will happen. And I know it's not the microphones, because I'll take the microphones, like I'll get in my car and I'll drive down the street and it's gone. Like I even like plugged my microphone into my Rodecaster, carried it, had the headphones on, talking out the front door. And it's like, as soon as I'm outside, it's gone. So I know it's like something to do with the building, and I've tried it with different brands even. So I know that that's just here. And this one, there's a digital noise reduction thing that just takes it out. And if I use this as a XLR microphone, it comes back up. So it definitely is part of the digital part. But the fact that it's like, it's so easy. I like how it looks. It's plug and play. And I just love it. It's my favorite right now.
Oh, that's cool. And it looks great, not to mention that we're both using the Doc Pops pop filters on here, which look, sound, and feel great. Like I can't emphasize to everyone. I'm like, once you have it in your hands and you feel the velvet that I'm talking about, then you'll be like, I understand. But everyone has to wait for right now until they get their own. But that's super cool. We were at Podcast Summit, sorry, in Atlanta just the beginning of July, and we were setting up all these booths, which kind of brings everything back together. We had a bunch of MV7 pluses, and they look and they sound great. And the cool part is that you can set all the settings to it, and you don't need the interface or anything to bake those settings in. So the noise reduction that you were just mentioning, the volume, like the tone, everything, and you can just unplug it, plug it into another computer that's never seen it before, and you're gonna still get all those qualities because they're like saved onto the phone. So it's really, really
cool. It was like the upgrades that they did is like they listened to everything and made the upgrades. Like it's
I know.
Like, I don't know, it's just wonderful. The more we get into this world and the more like I actually get to know the people who are behind the products and the programs, and they're like, see, like, this is real people. They're real people who are working on these things. And like, as creators, we can be part of the conversation, and it's just delightful.
Like, I don't really like talking negative about anything. I'd rather not mention it at all than say something negative, because it could be something that they're working on, you know, like as the creators of this new technology or anything like that.
Because it's like, feedback
But
is one thing. Straight up hate and criticism is a whole different game.
Exactly. And that's what we were mentioning, that I was going to say, bring it back together, like Ecamm, Scenery, and a lot of these companies that we're working with now, that they're actually taking our feedback and putting it into like effect right away. Scenery being one of them. Like, they're really trying to get that program like top notch.
Yeah, I think it's going to be definitely something it's going to be a contender. It's going to be a contender because they are sourcing the right feedback and implementing it.
Okay. And now the last question that I have to kind of close things out is that this is C.I.T.Y.S.G.A.W, channels that I think you should go and watch. And like I asked Doc Rock, who is your C.I.T.Y.S.G.A.W? Who is someone that you think the entire Camera Junkie community should go and watch?
Oh, so specifically for Camera Junkie audience?
No. I'm just saying, because I'm just referencing the Camera Junkie crew.
Oh, that's your people.
You know,
but they don't have to be like it's not necessarily a camera
It
creator.
could be anyone. Like, it could be a creator or even an entertainer, a creator or a channel that you think we should all go and watch. Doc Rock mentioned you, and that's why you're now here on the podcast.
Well, thank you for mentioning me, Doc, and thank you for having me on the show. I enjoy seeing you every time you pop up in my feed or in any, community stuff. So thank you for having me on. I would suggest Sunday Jumpstart is Jessica Lauren is the creator. She and I have known each other a really long time. Like the event stuff, like when I tell you about that event in Chicago where things went down, like she was with me. Like we have been basically to war together. But her content has come so far. She's grown so much, but she was also one of the ones who really encouraged me early on to actually do it because she knew that I was into it. But I remember being like so down and out, and she's like, so what are you going to do next? Like, I just had like a breakup and I was moving and like all sorts of stuff. I'm like, nothing. I just was like so gone that I was like, I couldn't even process what tomorrow would be. And she just like stuck with me and stayed with me. And like through her making her podcast, before I was even making like YouTube videos consistently, then I got inspired to actually like continue making my stuff. And we would sit in lobbies, hotel lobbies, Courtyard Marriotts across America, and just dream about future us. Like the work we're doing now is for future us. And now where we are now, both of us, like in our journeys as women, as adults, as humans, as creators, like we just met up recently and I was like, wow, like those girls who are sitting in the lobby, like they're going to be like, I'm so excited for them to get here. Like I'm so excited for those girls to get to where we are because it's really fabulous. So Sunday Jumpstart, she does a lot of motivational stuff. It's like your bestie that's kind of just telling you how she's feeling and how she's working through it, also giving advice. It's just fantastic.
Oh, I definitely got to check it out, especially if she's a old school home slice of Marielou.
Yes.
Got to give it the love. So, well, that's it. That was the C.I.T.Y.S.G.A.W podcast. And I want to thank you for making the time and hanging out here with me and the Camera Junkie community. You are amazing. And I can't wait to see what you come out with in the near future and 10 years from now. Like when we look back at this podcast 10 years from now, I can't wait to see where we're both at.
Yes. And then we'll be like, we're so excited for them to see what happens next.
Absolutely. All right. Well, everyone, thanks for hanging out. Take care of yourselves and each other, and we will see you next time. Talk to you.